I am going live now. Hi everyone. Namaste. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you guys are doing okay. We're just gonna wait a little bit. Today I am joining with three amazing human beings. Pamela, I did a live with her a couple of weeks ago. So one of my guests today will be Pamela. Also Jean Paul. I'm sure you guys are all gonna love him. And Saint Nicholas. So three lovely people, including me. And our topic is going to be really interesting. We're going to talk about betrayal. So first of all, welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. And let me know where you guys are joining me from. And also, have you experienced betrayal so far? Yes. Come here, Harry. You can join the live. Harry is going to be another speaker today. Hi, Pamela.
Hello.
How are you, sweetheart?
I'm great. It's wonderful to see you.
Same here. The pleasure is all mine. Okay. From US, Pamela, would you like to introduce yourself once again for the new followers who are following us today?
Hi, I'm Pamela Aaralyn, and I'm a mystic, and I love to make people aware of themselves. Grace is my favorite topic, and I'm just happy to be here with my friend Sudi today, and I deeply respect you and honor the work that you're doing on this planet, and I just wanted to take that time out to show how deeply I honor you and what you're doing, and I see you, I see your grace, and I see that, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Pamela. The honor is all mine. Well, I guess we're just doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? So,
Right.
Pamela, what did you think about the topic today, betrayal?
You know, the first thing that came through my field was the deep misunderstanding surrounding it. The word itself does not compute. Therefore, it was very interesting because in the world around me, that word is a big part of the duality paradigm, a big part of the reason why we suffer as humans. But it does not compute to me. It's almost as if it does not exist. It's impossible to betray me. The world sets us up in this dualistic paradigm to make a choice for source, to make a choice for how our calling is pleading us to honor it. And in those natural choices, someone's going to get hurt. If they believe that it's true, that they could be betrayed, their mind is going to get hurt. It's going to be a heartbreak. And for instance, if you chose to learn the truth about love in this lifetime, and then you have a broken heart in a dualistic world, did you really get betrayed, or do you now know about love? So I suppose I just see it a little differently. What about you?
Exactly. Well, the way I look at not just betrayal, but in general, is that this is the way I view the word, that as we always heard from the other mystics and gurus, that the outer world is a maya, is an illusion. So if I'm just looking at this movie, and I think I really believe that everything is real, and I'm not coming from a place to understand that everything is being created in the mind. And the one who is actually active right now, that part is my ego. All my identities has been created from the ego, the false self. So if I'm being tricked by the ego and I don't really understand the mind, this like fabulous, complicated machine, then the outer reality is going to be real. And whatever I see in that projection, I don't get it, that I am the one who's creating it. So when I look back, Pamela, like in my youth, I created a lot of dramas, and I was really attracted to dramas, you know. And I wasn't aware that I am the one who's creating my reality.
Right.
But today I know that, first of all, the outer world is not real, it's just a projection. And I have found a different place, which is the inner world. And now I know that I have a choice at every second to choose to come from the inner world or to get involved in the outer world. And although as human beings we're operating in the other world, but it's coming from a different place through a different lens of more understanding, you know. So betray, like any other thing, I am experiencing more love and joy. Whereas in the past, there was this feeling that I couldn't trust anybody. I really had trust issues. And I always thought people are out there to get me and they want to hurt me or they want to take advantage of me. And, you know, so I couldn't deeply really connect with anybody. It was just at the surface of maybe basically like business, and always being conscious that I'm not going to get hurt or they're not going to do something to me. Okay, my guests are here. Let's see. There we go. This is JP. Okay. Let's see if he can also join us. Well, namaste. Welcome.
Namaste. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
The honor is all mine. You and Pamela and St. Nicholas is going to join us shortly. So welcome. I'm so glad to get to have all of us being on Instagram today. So would you like to also introduce yourself to my followers or Pamela's followers?
I would love to. And like I said, it's an honor to be here and to be able to hold this space with everybody, to learn from other professionals in this realm of personal freedom, right? To help people really reclaim their sovereignty and their liberation. That is our birthright. And my name is JP, JPK Experience. And I help visionaries really pull out and tap into their own freedom, to reclaim their sovereignty through health, through wealth, through wellness, and have been doing this for a number of years. And it's just a passion of mine to see people grow, to see people really step into their power and step into their dream, because like I said, it's our birthright. And sometimes we just have to move the rubble and allow ourselves to come up to the top and take a big breath of fresh air and really feel it. And then once we feel it, we see the potential and the light to pull ourselves out on our own.
Beautiful. Would you like to tell us where you live?
I am currently living in Tulum, Mexico.
Woo! Yes, I heard it's really happening out there.
It's happening. It's happening. It's a beautiful place. I'm originally from Lincoln, Nebraska in the United States. And we'll be here for another couple weeks before I do some traveling. And I'm going to come back down to Mexico and explore the greater parts of Mexico, and then I'll eventually come back to Tulum. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Okay. If I can get you and Pamela to speak a little bit louder, I don't know if we can have your sound a little higher. I don't know if it's just me or it's also for everyone. So that would be great.
Okay.
Very good. So our topic today is about betrayal. Would you like to collaborate and tell us what's your thought? How do you see betrayal?
I think, yeah, so I feel our life is a reflection of everything that's happening around us. So when people are betraying us, it's an opportunity for us to look in the mirror and see, how are we really betraying ourselves? I actually put up a post about this yesterday around the idea of ghosting, right? You know the term ghosting. I said, like, if you're ghosting somebody or if you're being ghosted, maybe this is a reflection in your life of that you are ghosting your own self, or you are betraying your own self. And so when we live in a place of unconditional love for our own body and our own being and those around us, that is when our life begins to magnetize and we begin to attract people who aren't going to betray us, who aren't going to ghost us, because they honor and they respect us as we respect ourselves. So that's what I have to say to brief upon the topic, just to get started.
Beautiful. And I also have to welcome San Nicolas. Welcome, love.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone.
Greetings. And this is a great live. I'm so glad that 4 of us could get together finally. It's beautiful. Would you like to also introduce yourself to our followers?
Sure. My name is Nicholas. I'm 39. I currently live in Miami, Florida, which is my hometown. And, I'm a yogi. So, my whole process of coming to spiritual alignment is through yoga.
Beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit, like, what was your life path? How did you choose to become a yogi when we have so many other choices?
Well, at first I was an athlete and I kind of went into the physicality of our nature, but there was something missing. And as I really pushed forward with, my body a lot, that like body identification to me equals a lot of suffering. So when I kind of like wanted to go beyond the suffering that I caused, due to so much body identification, then I went into yoga and I realized it's a whole process of transforming ourselves and experiencing our truth, which is, being spirit, being consciousness, being pure energy.
But what was the beginning point? Like, did it just happen to you? Because my path was, I can't say it was accidental, but it was sudden and everything moved very quickly because I got introduced to another healer. But
Right.
Where was the starting point? Like, where was that click that, oh, there is that other way? Like, there's a spirit realm and I can choose to come from that place.
Well, I have to say, it was also due to a few peers of mine, just being somehow, we're synchronized with certain souls, somehow they come into our space, boom. And, we really trust them. And there's a certain level of just, connecting on a deeper level. And I felt that with a few individuals. So they kind of initiated me into the spiritual process. And I think that's the purpose in life, is to just be our divine selves. And then it allows others to step into that space because it feels right.
Nice, nice. So what do you think about our topic today? How do
Well,
you
first,
see it?
yeah, I think it's a beautiful topic because a lot of times, first and foremost, people they kind of identify with being a victim. You're like, this person betrayed me, and there's all this like confusion about, you know, why people are acting a certain way and why are they doing these things. But ultimately, you know, the truth is we carried that charge, and also we also carried that karma because all of us had betrayed other people in our lives. Maybe not intentionally, but we have betrayed other people. So whatever we've done in our life, it's actually going to come back to us in form of lessons. So we have to accept our karma. Not that it's good or bad, it's just our karma of receiving a certain energy, a certain level of betrayal from others, or whatever it is, a blessing from someone else. It's all of our karma to receive these lessons.
Hmm. Nice. Pamela, back to you.
I was just taking all that in for a moment in terms of the natural conditions of the soul in a dualistic realm permit that you have to be here by choice. Because of free agency, you have to choose to be here. No one made you be here. You're not trapped on a prison planet, stuck in some New Age disaster. I'm sorry, New Agers. You have many beautiful things that you're bringing to the forefront, but you need a makeover. You're middle-aged now. You know, we need to go touch up our roots a little bit, pull in some ancient knowledge. I said I'm sorry, but I'm actually not really sorry. I don't believe in betrayal. I believe that every single facet of divine will and free will for me in my sovereignty and through the ultimate divine will that drives me always, there is sort of a shadow collective that you could follow about betrayal, and you will suffer if you do. And then, you know, with our beautiful guests here today, each of you have so beautifully described, both St. Nicholas and JP have beautifully described the ancient tenets of mysticism, with how we recognize that it is a privilege, an honor, a grace that drives us, a calling. And when you're betrayed, quite frankly, it means you're exactly where you're meant to be. I love it when someone betrays me. However, from the New Age side of me, this is what New Age taught me when I was teaching New Agers and learning from them so graciously. What I unfortunately also learned the hard way is that I was a betrayer. I was a ghoster. That was my thing, man. You know, if something didn't align to me, I was a positive vibes only guru-esque person. And I would say, well, that's actually distracting me. Oh, poor little empathic me. I can't be amongst the commoners. That will break my flow, and I won't write like I need to. I won't sing like I need to. I'm just being honest. That was the way that I would betray myself and others. That was my top modality for betrayal, and honoring its little lesson, you know, as you so eloquently put it, St. Nicholas. So what I learned from that is that I wanted to adhere to a principle of separation and call that God. And it just wasn't working for me. And something deep inside of me was like, it doesn't feel right to betray myself or others and call that boundaries. Yet simultaneously, I understood the need to be in my little capsule of God space and to do the work that I wanted to do. But the idea of calling it boundaries, calling it betrayal, or, you know, picking positive vibes only versus negative vibes, anything that made me think in my language system that there was an other would just completely distract me all over again. So that's what I have to say about it. I've been down both roads with it.
Nice. John, back to you.
Yeah. Wow. First, I want to say this is it's a privilege to be here, to have been chosen to be here, to choose myself to be here with these beautiful humans, because this is a collaboration of a lot of wisdom that we all have. And it's, again, an honor. Yeah, what's coming up for me is the idea around honesty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can we really honor the truth within ourselves? There was something recently for me where I wasn't embodying and being honest with how I was really feeling with a relationship. And that was a part of my own betrayal, in a sense, or lying to myself, or manipulating my own energy to fit a certain mold, which wasn't completely allowing myself to show up authentically, to show up with my own truth. And so, yeah, what's coming up is when we live in our truth, when we share what we really feel, what's really coming up in our heart, you know, without the fear of this person, or the idea that this person won't accept me. And we embody the fear of like, oh, this may feel really bad. I may get rejected. I may feel really uncomfortable. And we move into the experience understanding that it could happen without the expectation that it will happen. We're oftentimes met with weightlessness, with the feeling of, oh, wow, that felt really good to share myself. That felt really good to embody my truth. And I think that's how we can move through this idea of betrayal. Because when we are lying to ourselves, we're lying to other people, we're also going to be met with that type of reflection in our life, and in many different ways. So yeah, that's what's coming up for me in this moment.
Well, now the way I look at this, before you guys joined us, I was talking to Pamela about it, and I want to see what you and St. Nicholas think about it. Because I have this shamanism background, and we often, the way we look at the world is somehow it's a movie, and we're just not really believe that is real and is really happening. So the way I look at everything, the outer world, is that it's just a projection. And I never get involved with the storyline or with the movie that's being played out there. The way I'm looking at it, whenever something shows up in my movie, I am aware, number one, where is it being created, this movie? And then I am aware that, oh, this is being created in the mind.
Yes.
And also the way I look at it, in that duality of the ego, mind, and the heart and soul, I'm always aware of which part is showing up. Because I believe I call the mind the thinking machine, the producer of the thoughts. And behind it, there is the ego. And on the left side, I always say, is the heart. The quality of the heart, we all know, is just love, understanding, compassion, and the soul is the one who's behind it. So I often say these two parts of us are making totally a different movie out there. I mean, the movie that's being created by the mind ego has all these things happening, the betrayal, the lying, and, injustice and all of that. And the movie that's coming from the heart and soul, because the lens is much more open now, and I'm seeing everything. So if my lens is only able or capable to come from love, then I see every human being as love. And I often say, every character out there, when we pull the mask away, we see God is also being that character. So from the lens of heart and soul is totally different. That I'm always understanding people. I'm fully present with every human being that they come into my movie or into my story. Oftentimes, we think that we're interacting with other people, whether it's our partner or our parents or our friends or whomever, but oftentimes we're not realizing that we are never really fully present there. Like sometimes we see when I do a session, women are always complaining, my husband comes home and I want to tell him about my day and this and that, but he's either in his phone or he's, and I often say, you know, when we come home, when we're interacting with another human being, we're not really there because our mind is still going. You know, for those people who are working outside, when they come home, they think they come home. Yes, you're physically home, but your mind and your emotion is all over the place. You're still at work, you're still thinking about the traffic, you're still thinking about what you need to do tomorrow, worrying about the future. So we're never really present. And then if I'm not really present and if I'm not coming from the heart and soul, so why are we surprised if we're experiencing betrayal out there? You know, if I'm not coming from my authentic self, which is the soul, and I'm coming by my false self, which is the ego, then I'm not being authentic. How am I assuming that other people have to be transparent and really feeling me fully? So I think the betrayal, the way I look at it, since everything out there is a projection of me, I would ask the question, where am I betraying myself? And if I'm coming from the ego mind and I'm not even aware of it, then obviously I'm betraying because I'm coming from my false self instead of consciously choosing that I'm coming from the soul. St. Nicholas, what do you think?
Absolutely. You know, the thing is why do we do our spiritual practice? You know, there's many different spiritual practices, many traditions, and I wouldn't say one is better than the other. Many of them are effective, but what they do is they give us clarity. They give us clarity about who we truly are. So we can, like you said, is really come to the place of observing my mind and my emotions, and then being the doctor of your mind, you know, because nobody is going to be the doctor of your mind. When your mind starts feeling anger, frustration, resentment, and starts judging someone for doing something, then I ultimately have to doctor my mind and use the love that I have within me, my truth, to start facilitating my mind to be a certain way. Because whenever betrayal is happening, it's ultimately, as a soul and looking at betrayal, I realize that is a lesson for me to drop deeper into my truth. So that's why we do our spiritual practice, to give us that clarity. We do it constantly so we have that connection. So regardless of what's happening externally, whatever we're experiencing, whether this or that happens, there's so many possibilities, but constantly having that practice to give us the clarity and use that clarity to make the right move, you know, not acting out of the anger that arises up, because a lot of people just act out of those emotions that are simultaneously coming up. But as we watch all those emotions and feelings, then we can start transforming them and alchemizing them through that connection that we have.
Nice. I pinned Tarina's comment. Do you guys, someone wants to collaborate on it? Did I miss it? Can you guys see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, okay. Would you like to respond to her comments, Pamela?
Yeah, I believe her comment was maybe she got a misunderstanding that I was dissing New Age practice, which isn't at all. New Age has some incredible tenets, but the negative tenet that can be a little harsh, a little hard on the heart, is one where we are taking out the betrayal, the pain, the suffering, taking our shadow deeply, and then using it as a modality which becomes a mental attachment. We're focusing in, we're honing in on the pain and saying, take me back to the time and place when that pain happened, where you're going to be chasing around something like a tail on a dog. It will not stop. And you're going to call that a spiritual practice. And that's where I have to blatantly, respectfully disagree. That is not a spiritual practice. That's a flogging. So that's one of the things, just out of the brief separation for acknowledgement of that practice is an era, much like some of the sainted practices was also in an era. We no longer need to flog ourselves or renunciate. Well, I don't want to flog my mind over my shadow and over pain that's just natural as a part of the duality experience. I don't want to do that anymore. So I did it. I did the work by Byron Katie for 17 and a half years. Right? It was juicy. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. So by any means am I purposely giving any negative portrayal of New Age practices. But I will say that the idea of taking your suffering and turning it into a flogging session for the soul is incredibly cruel, and you will not move past that. Like, do it if you need to, and then let it go. Let it go. Like, drop it on the altar. Do whatever modality you work on. That matters not. I agree that everything could be a spiritual practice. You're here to be a walking prayer, a walking breath of Source's love. And however you get there is completely not my business. So I wanted to just clarify. It wasn't a judgment. I was just telling you I did it and it didn't work for me. Right?
She's saying, I just meant to highlight.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Very good. John Paul, back to you.
Yeah. We have everything that we need. It's all right here in our heart. And oftentimes our mind is deeply conditioned by society around us for fear, for control, manipulation. And I find when we get back into our body, we really feel into our body, whatever spiritual practice that you have, whatever movement practice that you have, breath work, whether that's exercise or getting into nature or just feeling what your heart feels like when you speak a word, when you speak something out into the world, that moves us out of the observer mind that's constantly trying to direct us. Like with the condition of all of our society, it's the mind, is the ego, right, is trying to override our heart, our soul. And so when we can get into our body and feel what's really happening in our body, that's when we can allow our soul to guide us. We can allow our heart to just pull us into the direction or to receive the information that we need. And oftentimes, again, that ego mind, that conditioned mind that wants to really, all it really wants to do is like check out what's happening in the world. Like, oh my gosh, look at that amazing tree over there. That's so awesome. That's really what it wants to do. But society has given us this idea that we need to control, the mind needs to control where we go. Oh, I've got to show up at this specific place and I've got to do this specific thing and I've got to do, rather than simply being. And when we can be, that moves us away from this idea of falsehood, of this false sense of created reality, and we can be the observer and allow our mind to just be in wonderment and awe of what's happening. And that's where we can really find the truth that's coming into our heart. We are the conduit that we're receiving the information to simply express what needs to be expressed, whether that's through movement, through voice, through songs, through expression, or whatever it is. And I think that's how we can move through the idea of betrayal, of the mind betraying us.
Tranya commented again. She said, yes, whatever is showing up is our spiritual practice. And I totally agree with Pamela, in which like we are, you know, being pushed towards that. We should not hide our pains or wounds. And I agree to that, because whatever we're trying to hide or repress, we all know that is going to come up and show up even denser and stronger. I totally get that. But what Pamela and I are saying in a way is that if you keep going back to your childhood, or if you want to trace where the wound started, because you're doing that from the part of ego mind that has created the whole storyline, the movie, you're going to find more and more and more. You keep telling your mind, where did I go wrong? And your mind is going to keep looking for all these ways and places that you went wrong. And as Tony Robbins said so beautifully many years ago, he said, learn to ask the right question. If you keep asking yourself, why am I so dumb? Then your mind is going to keep looking for all the evidence and show you the proof that because of this and this and this, you are so stupid and dumb. But if you change the question and say, why am I so aware? Why am I so smart? The difference of the question is going to force your mind to go and look for that. And when it comes to pain and wounds, is the same thing. If we keep going back and say, where are the wounds? The mind is going to show up with more and more and stuff, and there's never ending. But if you switch that, if I understand, if I'm really aware that where did the whole story start? Who is the writer of my story? Who's directing it? And once we are aware that the writer, director, the casting agents who's choosing all the characters with their traits, blah, 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 is the mind and ego, then by knowing that and separating ourselves from that and being present every moment without a history, without a past. If my character is being born this moment, empty, which I'm practicing a lot. I'm also doing a joint life with Ven. He's a monk. And last week our topic was about how to be not just selfless, or how to be free like the water, without conditioning, without any of that, right? And that would never happen if we're going to come from the ego mind. We have to learn to switch to the soul, to the spirit, which is the whole knowing. And then I could be formless. And this is with Max and I, my partner, we constantly laughing about it since last week, about being formless, that whatever he does wrong, and he's like, are you upset now? I'm like, no, I'm practicing being formless. I'm in my formless zone. Nothing is bugging me or bothering me, you know? So the storyline, where is it coming from? And the betrayal or anything, if somebody is lying to me, if somebody is betraying me, I know that there is nothing out there. So I know it's the projection of the mind. And if I really want to end the suffering, I have to know where the suffering is starting, and it's coming from the ego mind. Saint Nicholas, you're very quiet. What do you want to say?
I'm just listening to all the beautiful things you guys were saying. So thank you. So yeah, you know, I mean, essentially it's all, we assign meaning to every situation, right? Nobody assigns meaning to what's happening. So again, on a deeper level, what is all this that's happening? What does it really mean to us? You know, so that's when we get to rewrite everything and project a different story and write another movie, put new characters, put a new script, all these things. So what does everything mean to you on a deeper level? That's what we have to ask ourselves on a soulful level. Why am I experiencing all of that? So, you know, that's really what I want to say is the meaning is up to us, you know? So do we get to play this or that or whatever? What does it mean to me? On a deeper level, it means something really, really profound. It's just, it's all happening for us. No matter what, it's all happening for us. These are our soul's lessons that we signed up for, and we're here to experience all of it. So it should only bring us joy and bliss when these moments arise, when we think, oh, betrayal, but then actually we come back to the bliss and understanding these are my initiations. These are what's really for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Pamela,
Phew,
your
that's
turn.
juicy. Talk about a birthright. Like we're talking about our sovereignty and our empowerment. And I feel super privileged to be amongst you today. You know, you three wonderful souls with so much wisdom. And also amongst all of the mystics that are awakening in the world right now, we're mystics without monasteries. We don't have that whole step into the cave experience anymore and shut the doors to society. Like our sleeves are rolled up to serve. And that really excites me. So when I feel that concept of betrayal, it feels very foreign, very, very foreign. It's hard to peruse it. I just feel like we're playing our roles and someone's initiating me more deeply. And, you know, the soul gets to whip the ego into shape again and again and again until the ego is the servant of the heart, not the other way around.
So when we're looking at people who are saying that they have experienced betrayal, and I see that oftentimes in my private coaching session, that sometimes they're not even conscious or aware that they might have felt betrayed 20, 30, 40 years ago. And because it's not here, they don't know that they are still suffering. And because they can separate themselves from the ego mind, that suffering is still in the physical body. And, you know, because we feel energy and we read energy, sometimes I see the first thing I see is that betrayal that affected their physical body. But they're not even aware that, oh, I have never overcome the betray, whether it has been from my parents in my childhood or from someone who was playing this part of a partner or a lover or whatever. So the majority of us human are in this level that we can't really realize that we have a choice, that I can change the storyline. So my question right now is for all the followers or people who are listening, are here or listening to this live later on, what do we need as human beings to really click for us that at every second we're choosing? Every second I have a choice to suffer, or like our previous topic has been, suffering is a choice. Where is it that people get really upset when I chose that topic, suffering is a choice, a lot of people got really annoyed. What do you mean? You mean I'm really choosing to suffer? I'm like, well, if the suffering is being experienced by you, therefore, knowingly or unknowingly, you have chosen to suffer. And how could we be so conscious to realize that at every second I can choose suffering or not suffering. Who wants to collaborate on this?
That's a simple question that you ask yourself. How have I betrayed the light of God within me in this moment? Use betrayal to your benefit. If you don't want to let it go, turn it around and let it serve you. That was the only way that I could allow the soul to kind of really spark up. And grace is going to take over at some point, whether it's through suffering, whether it's through a miracle. When miracles become more palpable is when you ask yourself that one question: how have I betrayed the light within me? If you don't like the word God, omit it.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah, I think it comes back down to realizing that we are the creators, and God gifted us this opportunity to create our own reality. And when we can connect back with that in our own heart, we can choose. We can choose anything. We can choose anything that we want. And getting clear on what is it that we want to create, and also being open to the idea that we may not know, and that's okay. And we get to choose how we want to show up. What feeling do we want to feel on a daily basis? And when we recognize that we're feeling frustration or anger or betrayal, it's just an opportunity to say, okay, what do I want instead? And then go into that and choose that every single moment, every single day. Taking a moment to breathe, feeling into the body, get rooted, get grounded into our feet, versus constantly trying to be up here in the clouds. The world doesn't need more balloons. The world needs more grounded warriors, grounded, peaceful warriors to live in this moment, to live here now, not out in the ethers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, adding on here, the thing is I think what's really important, none of us has like really touched upon this, is like when we feel the energy of betrayal, whatever it is, we have to drop into the space of forgiveness. We have to forgive ourselves, and we have to forgive whoever else was involved in the situation. So forgiveness allows that divine light to pour through. Because if I'm holding on to resentment and judgment and anger, then there's no way that I can have divine realization. So forgiveness, first of all, is the first step, because all of us are just growing, learning, evolving, making mistakes, moving forward, moving backwards, all these directions. And then you just have to find the love within your heart to just really forgive and let go,
Mm-hmm.
Forgive and let go that person that did whatever they did, and then forgive yourself for maybe not interpreting this relationship properly, not reading someone in a certain way. Just forgiveness is really, I say, the foundation. Then we can build on that. If not, then I'm holding on to anger from years ago, or I'm holding on to all this junk from all these experiences. Just forgive and let go. Boom.
That's
and
a
finding the
great.
gratitude in the moment for that, finding the
Mm-hmm.
gratitude in that experience, right? That's the abundant attitude. We're not coming from a
Yeah,
place
that's
of
a
lack.
great point. But I think where the majority of us go wrong is that we think that we have to forgive the other person, and we're making that we have to. And oftentimes I say, you don't even have to forgive someone who has raped you or stole from you or whatever. It's not about somebody else. Let the other person go. You don't even have to forgive your mother or your father or whatever. But the key is, can you forgive yourself? Because if I can forgive myself, then the other person, the energy of forgiveness, because the energy doesn't separate, right? So if I'm using the energy of forgiving myself, once the energy of forgiveness comes, that can also transmute the forgiveness of someone else. But often people get stuck here. I cannot forgive that other person. Therefore, they're just avoiding it and they're not even forgiving themselves, right? So that's one part. The other way, I'm going back to the way I look at things. The way I look at it, there is nobody out there with a bad intention to do something to me. Oftentimes we think that people are doing something to hurt us. But if I come from a different place of understanding, of place of non-judgment, which doesn't come again from the ego mind, it comes from the heart and soul. When I come from that place, then I know that people are doing their best. Nobody wants to be a bad person. It just happened the way they have been conditioned, or their behaviors, or whatever they have learned so far in a situation, because they're not aware, they do things. But if I understand that they're not doing it intentionally, and instead of judging them, I come to more awareness, and I always say, I see awareness and love as one energy. And I said, whenever you bring awareness and love into a situation, that situation would dissipate, it would loosen up, it would be transmuted. So all I have to do is to know I can use love and awareness to the situation, whether it's betrayed or whatever, anything else.
May I
Pamela.
ask you something about that?
Huh?
May I ask you something about that?
Of course.
When you're able to merge, or as you say, you don't separate awareness from love, however many people do, you know, especially when suffering is so present, is it possible that when you're simply aware of a person, you can separate the painful act from the beloved itself?
Exactly.
And is that the forgiveness opportunity there, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm going to forgive me about it, or I'm going to forgive them about it? It is, according to universal law, in alchemy, we understand that the universe is neutral. It's here for our reaction. And the circumstances that other people choose to react from are all based upon their perception, their culture, their conditioning, their fears, their love, their grace, their whatever, right? So I like the way you described that, and I just wanted to put that back to you in terms of, do you believe it's possible that from that standpoint, we can finally see an act of suffering as a simple, neutral circumstance that gives us a glorious opportunity to heal?
Mm-hmm. We absolutely can, Pamela, and that's a great point. But then again, I would see, I have to know that the experiencee is at what level of consciousness.
Okay.
Right? Because I often say, during the day, we are constantly moving. We come up to a higher consciousness, we are very aware, and we go unconscious. And this is the game. And I often say to my followers, I said, you know, awakening is not a solid state. Enlightenment is an experience that you experience now, and you can lose it. But being conscious and unconscious, that play of hide and seek, is happening 24 hours. I'm coming from the mind and ego, I go unconscious, I switch to heart and soul, I become conscious. So this is happening all day long. But then again, every individual is at a different level of consciousness or awareness, if we can call it, that people who start walking this path of awakening, At the beginning, they could be unconscious for minutes or hours or even days. But once we choose to start this path of awakening, and we choose to be awake instead of sleep, then the timing of being unconscious becomes much shorter. I see it with my followers. They say, I catch myself much quicker now. I can still be reactive and unconscious, but very soon I catch myself and I don't continue to be reactive. So that's a really great part. I don't know if I answered your question or not, Pamela.
Yes.
I have.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, John Paul, tell us about, if you wanted to tell someone or you wanted to work with someone and they're telling you that I have been suffering or experiencing betrayal for many, many years, how would you go about it? What would you say to them? How would you help them?
Yeah, I would dive in and start asking them questions around what's the common theme, see what the common theme is behind their betrayal. And and I know we are talking about the inner child work and seeing where the root of it came from. And how I like to go about it is, of course, diving into that where it may have, where the first thought of it may have manifested for themselves, and then rewriting the story around it, rewriting the perception that they have around it in the terms of not forgiving the other, maybe forgiving that self, forgiving that part of the self, and how it impacted their life in a positive way, where they can find the gratitude, the acceptance of the outcome versus this story that's continuously perpetuating in their life. And then, of course, giving them or figuring out what are practices that they can dive into that's going to start to create more self-love within themselves, so they're not continuously acting out in ways of betrayal that may be perpetuating the outcome or the story that's being created through their reality, through their conditioned mind and their reality. So in short, that's how I would go about that process.
Nice. So in a way, we could ask, like, what else could this mean?
Yeah.
How can I change the meaning?
Exactly.
And in that part, when I come to a higher awareness that no one's out there, number one, to hurt me. This is the projection, is coming back to me. So where and how would I stop betraying myself? Or in a way, I am saying that if nobody's out there, and let's suppose God is playing out all these characters, even the character that's betraying, to bring it to my attention that where are you betraying yourself? Because I think oftentimes when this comes to people awareness that there's no one out there and God is playing all these roles, the minute we feel that God is the character, all of a sudden everything drops. The suffering, the pain, or what do you think? Saint Nicholas.
So if first of all, if somebody approached me and is dealing with, betrayal, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times, this person's nervous system, and they're just covered with distortions, okay? So in order to actually go beyond all these distortions, what I do is I get people into these practices that start clearing out all these distortions. So we can calm the nervous system down, so we can cleanse the emotional body, cleanse the physical body, cleanse the mental body, cleanse our aura. And then we're now coming into a space of deep relaxation. So things can actually float into our mind in a conscious way, and then we can start working through them. So a lot of times people are talking and all these things, but from my tradition, what we do is we start cleansing these energies, and then we go through the process of purifying. Because as we start purifying the energies in our body and our, you know, all the layers, then we can start looking at things from another perspective. But if we're not cleansing these energies, then it's really hard to like pinpoint things, you know, with clarity and have these like, you know, where we're really getting precise and extracting things, because there's so many things that are just kind of lingering over the years. So I think purification is the first thing. We can talk all day, but let's purify, and then we'll go through the process of kind of working through it through, you know, spoken word and all these things.
So can I ask you, how do you do the cleansing, or how the process of purification happens with you?
Well, you know, yoga is a 5,000-year-old process, you know, direct to go into enlightenment that's been tried and tested. And, you know, that's what sometimes they miss in the new age. They don't understand that yoga is a complete science. It's a complete science of purifying everything. So I just go, you know, through the process of, there's obviously many different practices in yoga. I think the first layer we have to attack is the physical layer, you know? So we have to get into movement. We have to start. So for me, you know, yoga asanas are kind of elementary. If you're a deep practitioner of yoga, you look at maybe the asanas as elementary, but that's what I break people in the beginning, into the yoga asanas and the breath. Those two things alone, the breath and the asanas. And that's what I do. And then I'll start bringing them into other practices. But you know, ultimately the goal is meditation. In meditation, we have prolonged awareness. If you tell people to try to trace back where these triggers are coming from, they cannot remain present, because there's so many disturbances in the mind that prevent them from actually being present and being focused, you know, all my attention to kind of overcome these things. I'm over here, I'm over there. So we need to clear all these disturbances out. To me, that's the yoga asanas, the breath work. If you do that for an hour, we're going to be fully prepared to kind of work through things. If not, it's really difficult. You know, it's very, very difficult.
Okay, Pam, back to you.
I love that you say that, because, you know, there's a focus in yoga that goes way beyond what we can fathom, way beyond what we can grasp. You can't, like I say all the time to my students, you can't grok God, you know? So the breath is the first thing that we do. From the moment we leave the womb of our beautiful mothers, we breathe and we cry. Right, we breathe, and if you're crying, you're also breathing. However, when you put in that deep dhyana, that focus onto the breath, no matter how you're doing it, something happens that the mind just kind of goes, oh, okay, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And it feels like your mom patting you on the back when you're a baby and you're crying, and she's like, it's okay. Just also what Divine Mother is saying to us. And this is why I love yoga, because I'm a pratyahara person. I love chant. I love kriya. I love very active practices. Asana, not my favorite thing. I could definitely work on that in the branches for sure. You know, and it's very interesting, you know, with the way that my neurological system plays out, if I'm breathing or if I'm singing, because you have to breathe to sing. You know, and I started out in this world as an opera singer. That was my first career, you know. Nice. And I loved it, and I didn't understand why. And everyone would say, why do you love this so much? Why are you so calm? Why are you never upset? You know, how can you gracefully handle situations? And number one, it's not me. I'm not the doer. But number two, I'm just breathing my way through it, just like the rest of you. And I recognize where my weakness is in betrayal, you know, which is our topic today. And it flat out is just pointing so much focus on the internal that I actually forget the body. I forget other bodies as well. I am focused. I am clear with what my calling, the passion of God and how it operates through me. And I have a tendency to focus so much on that everyone else just goes by the wayside. So I'm a ghoster. I ghost people. That's how I betray myself. That's how I betray others. And God could be trying to get my attention, you know, so knocking on the door so desperately through a neighbor or a friend or my spouse or one of my children. And I could be going, okay, world, I'm trying to operate right now. I need deep focus. And I go into my practice and sure, I have my focus, but God just talked through another embodied human being. And I wasn't there for it, you know? So this is what I'm working through with betrayal currently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know the time just fly is 11 my time. Anyhow, I know that we have to end this live shortly, but I wanted to invite you guys also because tomorrow again, 10 a.m. LA time, I'm doing a joint live with Ven, and we're going to be continuing this topic. I would love for any of you guys who wants to join us tomorrow to also do that, and we can continue on this topic and conversation tomorrow. I don't know which one of you guys want to join, if you're free or not. But anyhow, I know San Nicolas, you said you're in Florida, so you're 3 hours ahead of me. And what about Tulum? You're 1 hour ahead of LA?
2 hours.
2 hours. And you, Pam?
I'm on mountain time, so I'm just 1 hour ahead of you.
Okay, cool. So tomorrow 10, same time, we're doing another live. I would love for any of you guys who can join us to come and we can chat about this more.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Do not forget to follow Pamela, John Paul, and St. Nicholas, and we see you guys tomorrow again. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. Hope to see you. Love you all. See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye now.
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
us.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet
Love
you guys.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you guys. Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye-bye.